Linked spirits, think you not that our story is complete? Have I not explained to you that it is without end? An important element to your legend must be added. Another fragment must be woven into the cloth of our understanding. By now we have learned to skip lightly across the ages, so come with me while I take you back to the days when Solana and Naumani first landed in the land called Egypt. They settled in a place that they named Anu, later known as Heliopolis or the City of Light. Solana, Naumani and the other Atlantean survivors who had journeyed with them quickly set about establishing friendly relations with the wild, unsettled tribes who roamed the region as nomads. The tribal people, although initially wary of the new arrivals, soon had their distrust turned to wonder. Surely these new people must be gods, for they had brought with them such wondrous marvels, things that they had never imagined to exist. As it was that with awe and reverence these wild and barbarous people did easily open themselves to the guidance of the Atlantean survivors. The Atlanteans created a vast center, the Temple of Anu, devoted to the teaching of the god An, ever symbolized by the union of the sun and moon. They built magnificent temples and pyramids as they dispersed numerous advancements among the people. As they flourished, they were contacted by the other godlike ones who lived scattered throughout what was known as Lower Egypt. Some of these beings had been early Atlantean colonies, while others originated from the stars. Throughout this time of immense activity, Solana continuously awaited the arrival of his twin one Soluna, until as she appeared not. With the passing of each month, pangs of loneliness penetrated deeper within his heart. Yet Solana maintained his trust that Soluna would some day arrive and continued his work with dedication. Thus several years passed. Nemani, concerned with Solana's growing sense of dejection and puzzlement, finally persuaded him to accompany her to the temple of Ptah in the nearby city of Memphis in order to inquire of the great god himself as to the whereabouts of Soluna. Henceforth they made their journey and obtained an audience with Ptah, wherein Solana set forth his inquiry. The great god Ptah, homage to him, listened patiently with his immaculate wisdom and compassionate understanding. Was he not one of the starry ones? When Solana finished speaking, Ptah stood upon his golden throne and announced, "Know you not that the woman whom you seek is here among you, and had been since first you arrived on these shores?" Solana was surely bewildered by this, and simply shook his head. Ptah smiled and spoke again. "Go forth, on Anu. After one moon has passed, you may return here. The woman who is your chosen one shall await you. There is but one requirement: the Atlantean priestess Namani must remain here with me. She is a necessary part of the ritual." Namani, although much surprised by Ptah's request, hereby agreed to stay, and Solana departed for Anu, more perplexed than ever before. Several peaceful days passed by in Memphis, during which Namani was treated with much respect and hospitality in the temple of Ptah. On the fourth day she was summoned forth to an audience with Ptah, who received her dressed in his ceremonial robes of white and red embellished with golden symbols. Wielding immense authority, he gestured with his staff for her to sit before him. Namani noticed for the first time that Ptah's eyes were of a most unusual azure color, very large and elongated. Focusing his powerful eyes upon her, he spoke, "Namani, daughter of Aslan, you have been chosen to undergo an initiation. You shall be taken to a hidden chamber deep within one of our pyramids. There you will be left alone for the passing of one night. It shall be a night that will absolutely change your life. After this experience you will understand many things that have previously been veiled to you. Fear not, for you are ready for this. Otherwise you would not have been chosen for this process." Holding a fiery torch, Ptah led Namani to a tunnel which descends deeply into the earth. She felt small shivers of fear pricking her, yet she pushed them aside with her tremendous courage, for she knew well that she totally trusted her. Whatever this trial entailed, she would do her utmost to see it through. This, thus they proceeded down the endless tunnel until at last it began to rise with a steep sloping angle upwards. They finally entered a small chamber, empty save for a sarcophagus of shining white marble. With a wave of his staff, Tom motioned for Naomi to climb into it and lie down. That she did, feeling her heart pounding loudly with anticipation. Setting his thought into a wall holder, Ptah then passed an arm over her body, intoning prayers and incantations in a sonorous voice which echoed throughout the empty chamber with a deep mysterious resonance. The chanting quickly moved Naman into high awareness. Then picking up his torch, Ptah silently departed. The room was in absolute darkness. Naman lay ever so quietly still, hearing Ptah's chants repeating themselves within her mind. Then a profound silence descended upon the chamber. The woman had never before experienced such a total absence of sound. At that moment Naman knew that she was the only being within the entire vast massiveness of the pyramid. In a sense she had never before experienced such isolation, yet she felt not entirely alone. Other spirits were definitely here with her. She could sense their presence. Lying silently, Naman stared up at the blackness surrounding her. Suddenly a woman appeared before her. Then Naman realized that it was not a woman, that it was her dear friend Solana. She felt immensely relieved to see a familiar face. But no, her senses told her again that it is not Solana, it is a woman. Naman stared intently at the figure in the darkness. "Who are you?" she asked quietly, much confused. "Hail, Namani, I am Solana. I am the one whom Solana seeks yet discovers not," the figure explained. "Why appear you to me?" What is this? Namani inquired. "Because you and I are what are called linked spirits, you represent the part of me that is of the ancient wisdom. I represent the part of you which derives from the angelic or starry realms," Solana replied brightly. "Are you and Solana not twin souls? I do not understand how you can be linked both to him and to me." Solana smiled delightedly, lighting up the darkness around her. "There are many different forms of linkages. You and I are each unique aspects of the same being. Together we are able to stand with one foot in the past and one foot in the future, so to speak. We are also the link between the earth and the sky. My time for living within this dimension as an individual is completed. I have no more to experience here on my own. My energies cannot endure in the dense frequency patterns present since the fall of Atlantis, which greatly altered both the planetary grid structure and the molecular content of the atmosphere. It is time for us to merge back together into the one being that we originally were. We shall combine our separate identities back into one being, one physical form." Fauna continued. "You see, spirits like me, who originate from the pure angelic realms of Elohim, can no longer remain consciously in physical form on Earth due to the dense magnetic currents that have come into being since Atlantis' removal from the grid system. That is why the kingdom of An, Sanat Kumar's magnificent civilization, Shambhala, the high priestess Alora, and the hermit of the Crystal Mountain have all removed themselves from the physical plane. In order for beings like me to continue in service here, we are given linked spirits who originate from the same core essence but who have taken a different direction in manifestation. The only alternative way that I could stay on Earth would be to undergo a prolonged period of consciously forgetting my heavenly origin and to fly into the future when my awareness will finally evolve to the point where I could remember who I was and begin the preparation to return to my starry home. But what about Solana? Why can't she simply merge with him? Namani queried. Solana is in the same situation as I am. He too originates from the celestial realms and has maintained that direct link within his consciousness. We tried to unite with each other before we had merged. With our linked spirits, we will be forced to leave the energy patterns of the earth, Solana explained with loving patience. I understand as not. With Solana, will Solana also need to unite with one of his linked spirits? Asked Normani. Of course, only 10 has happened to him already. Back when he was in An, as part of his initiation process there. After you and I unite, we merge into a third being. She is of a far vaster magnitude than either of us could ever be alone. Solana already is expressing his higher combined form, although I am not sure if he knows it consciously. That is why he is capable of achieving so much within one mere lifetime. You see, it is the two higher forms of you and me and of Solana and his linked spirit who shall unite. This is part of the process of forming the vehicle for our eventual journey homeward. Do you understand this? When unquiet, I am beginning to answer Hermione. She was starting to sense a deep bond with Solana, something which she had always felt with Solana. This was more than a feeling of sisterhood, more than even a blood kinship. It was like an alignment of core essence between them. If the you and I merge into our one being, what shall happen to all of our individual memories? They will become the personal memories of both of us. Hence, if something happened to you in an embodiment 5,000 years ago, it also happened to me, which is true for all of us, only we realize it not. We will be one being with twice the memories and knowledge. Some of our collective memory will be of simultaneous lifetimes, so occasionally it may get somewhat confusing. Zona replied warmly. She had grown quite fond of Nomoine during this conversation. Nomoine spoke with a tone of awe. I truly knew not that such thing as linked spirits existed until now. How are we going to make the merger between us? The merger? It will take one full moon cycle to affect the procedure, but I will bring you here every 4 more nights. The transformation shall be complete ere Solana arrives to take us back to Hana with him. Here is a song for you to sing with me. It will help us through the process. Luna began to sing in clear, strong voice. Netula Natala Imabote. Repeating the words over and over while Namoani felt herself floating out of her now slumbering form. Together Sun and Namoani floated up into the starry realms of the goddess Not, she who holds up the sky. They flew up over her great arched back, and their bodies tumbled freely in the galaxy as if they themselves were stars. The heavens became a vast mirror, and everywhere Namoani looked she saw herself reflected back as a star. At that moment she realized that everything was but a manifestation of herself. Every single star was her star. The entire mirrored universe contained but one glowing white star. She was that soul star. She and everything else were but the same, and that was one being. Celestial infinity twinkled and shone with a brilliant light of pristine clarity. This process repeated itself each night that Navani entered the pyramid. With immense eagerness she awaited the arrival of Selena once Ptah had left her alone in the all-pervading darkness. Their song would begin again, Natula Natala Ima Potek, and they would arrive once more and merge into that one star entering the multifaceted, mirrored starry universe that in true contained but one star. With each experience Namani could feel herself blending with Seluna as they slowly formed a new self that was far more than either of them separately. The weeks rapidly passed by until the morning came when the initiation was complete. Entering the pyramid's chamber with his torch, Ptah passed his ankh and then his staff over this woman slumbering from while intoning, "Arise, daughter, this the morning of your emergence." The woman awoke and opened her eyes with wondrous surprise. She was no longer Namoani nor Saluna, although she bore a resemblance to both of them. This reborn woman saw with a fresh clarity and heightened wisdom. Arising with graceful ease, she followed Ptah out of the pyramid into the dawn of a new morning. Inside the temple, Slana waited anxiously for the woman whom he had been prepared to meet. At the appointed hour, Ptah entered with a radiantly beautiful woman who emanated familiarity within her essence, yet there was some new unknown quality to her. Slana was struck speechless by her presence. As she approached him with an aura of glowing authority and loving grace, he bowed ceremonially. The woman smiled a brilliant smile at him with absolute recognition and returned his bow. Together they both experienced a sudden shyness, tinged with a blush of growing excitement. Solana broke the long, pregnant silence in a voice brimming full of loving emotions. "Saluna? Namwani? No, please excuse me, for I know that you are neither of them. Yet you are such a magnificent blend of both, the woman whom I have loved dearest, my beloved one. I have seen you before in my dreams. You are the other wing of my being, my own true love." Solana fell silent as he stared deeply into the woman's clear green eyes with absolute delight, and a smile, more radiant than 1,000 suns, broke out upon his handsome face. As he held out his hand to her, the woman brought it to her lips, and lightly brushed his fingers with a kiss. Ptah now stepped forward and stood before them in his full empowered majesty. Together their combined presence caused a radiant shaft of golden light to descend through the roof of the temple and hold them in its powerful beam. They were embraced and transfixed by a pulsation of golden light which irradiated them down to the core of essence. Time stopped as they merged into the golden beam. At last the pillar of light began to softly disperse. The three of them had been purified anew. Ptah raised his staff and intoned, "You have hereby been consecrated as solar regents of the great central sun. Your union has been blessed from on high. Now go forth and illuminate the illusions of duality and separation with the light of oneness." The man and woman gave each other a penetrating look, conveying their deepest alignment and love. Each of them still vibrated with fiery pulsation of golden light, flowing deeply to the great god Ptah. They tenderly took the other's arms and departed the temple hand in hand. Thus it was that Solana and his one true love did finally encounter each other and serve their higher purpose together in the land called Egypt. As they come together only at the beginnings and endings of major cycles, this also marks the last time that they have been together until the present age. At this very moment, as you read these words, they are being drawn back together again for the final completion. And thus it was that our dear Moani and Saluna did happily combine their essence and now serve upon this planet as one.